I am Vanessa Dempsey, Aboriginal Community Education Team Leader based at Felixstowe and the Gawler Education Offices. I provide leadership and work collaboratively with local education teams and student support services. I manage Aboriginal Service Engagement Officers that work closely with student support services in supporting vulnerable Aboriginal students. I support Aboriginal Community Education Officers, Aboriginal Secondary Education Transition Officers in schools, and I monitor the role with leaders. Underpinning this is the Aboriginal Education Strategy and providing cultural awareness and advice. We acknowledge the lands that we meet on today are the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are important to the Kaurna people today. We acknowledge and pay respect to the elders past and present, and we acknowledge those of the future, for they will hold the memories, traditions and hopes of Aboriginal Australians. Presentation topics for today are Aboriginal Education Strategy, EALD Hub, Languages and Culture, supporting Aboriginal EALD learners. Supporting Aboriginal vulnerable students, focusing on language through EALD lens, will provide a snapshot and key messages relating to the above. Sharing the Aboriginal Education Strategy. Aboriginal Education Strategy will provide the why and the importance of the Department of Education in this space. The EALD Hub is a great resource, and the presentation will share snippets from the online training and resources. Languages and Culture will highlight the importance of learning the history of languages of Aboriginal people in Australia to better understand your students and families. Supporting Aboriginal EALD learners will provide educators with some key guiding principles to be successful when supporting EALD learners. The aim is to engage educators in this space and to value the importance of being knowledgeable and having the skills to provide EALD learners with flexible practices that enhance and enable successful learning outcomes. The 10-year strategy is guided by the Department for Education's vision and principles, viewed as essential for Aboriginal children and young people to achieve growth and success. The document is a core policy and practice driver for the department, outlining the goals and objectives we are committed to delivering. This will require walking and working alongside Aboriginal families and communities and building a confident, culturally inclusive workforce ready to identify and implement the actions necessary to maximise the strategy's success. It will be supported by a strong action plan and an implementation framework developed in the spirit of reconciliation and ensure Aboriginal young people are on pathways to success. The 5 principles are high expectations, accessibility and responsiveness, culture and identity, community engagement and accountability. Another key component of the strategy is strong identity, high achievement and positive futures, which is our approach. The Aboriginal Education Strategy 2019 to 2029 promotes a child-centred approach to learning within an Aboriginal community context, which considers how a child or young person's development is affected by their social relationships and the world around them. A culturally responsive service delivery model and teaching to the strengths of the child's cultural knowledge, experience, frames of reference and performance styles will make learning outcomes more relevant and effective for Aboriginal children and young people. The diagram signifies the child or young person surrounded by the essential elements for a successful educational journey. They are strengthened by their culture, identity, language, country and belonging. Their learning and development is supported by the strength of family, elders, community and the influence of leaders, educators and peers, including a strong Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal workforce. These people are equipped to encourage the culturally appropriate experiences that will contribute to the learning success of the early years, schooling and future pathways. The child's life journey are goals. The strategy follows the child or young person's life journey. Our goals expand across the early years into schooling and are followed by pathways to success and beyond. The 3 key areas are Aboriginal children develop foundations for success in the early years, Aboriginal children and young people excel at school. And Aboriginal young people are on pathways to success. Referring to Professor Peter Buckskin's statement in this strategy, we have expectations that the families will have the child ready for school, and it is fundamental that we have high expectations for ourselves that the school is ready for the child. How do we do this? Engaging Aboriginal communities to develop the culture and identity of their children and young people, and building a strong, culturally responsive organisation. Key reforms within the strategy: teaching practice and curriculum delivery, transform the delivery of curriculum and learning through strengthening Aboriginal input, valuing and respecting Aboriginal knowledge, language, culture and histories. Our pedagogy will encompass the foundation of knowledge that Aboriginal children and young people bring with them and use their cultural repertoire in the learning environment. Aboriginal students will experience high quality teaching and learning that challenges them intellectually, supports and resonates with their cultural identity, and empowers them to achieve success prior to school, within school, in further study and in the workforce. Languages: strengthen and rejuvenate the learning of Aboriginal languages in children's centres, preschools and schools, including language revival and maintaining strong active languages. Recognise the linguistic rights of Aboriginal children and students, building on home languages through family and community engagement. Move towards a bilingual education model that ensures proficiency for Aboriginal children. The Aboriginal children and young people excel at school goal highlights a few key points that have been reiterated throughout the strategy. High expectations. We will acknowledge the importance of maintaining and developing first languages as a mechanism for learning standard Australian English. Strong identity, belonging, culture and history are a source of strength and resilience for Aboriginal people and their communities. In the objectives, Aboriginal children's experience of learning is relevant to their own lives, as it is reflective of the identity, language and culture of Aboriginal people. Pedagogy is culturally responsive and developed through a student-centred approach to teaching based on high expectations and quality relationships. To round out the strategy, there are 16 key initiatives that are currently being implemented. The implementation of the online professional development resource and capability framework for teachers of Aboriginal students for whom English is an additional language or dialect. This is where the EALD Hub and professional development provides opportunity for teachers to learn and to deliver a world-class education for all. The EALD Hub, teaching Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander English as an additional language or dialect learners. The EALD Hub was developed collaboratively by experts from the Aboriginal education and curriculum from the education departments in Queensland, New South Wales, the Northern Territory, South Australia and Western Australia. The Hub is a national online professional development resource aligned to the Australian Professional Standards for Teaching. The Hub provides educators with the skills to teach Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students who are learning standard Australian English as an additional language or dialect. The Hub is a recommended resource in the Towards World Class Education Action Plan and a key initiative of the Aboriginal Education Strategy, and a recommended resource in the School Improvement Literacy Guides books and the Aboriginal Learner Achievement Resource. The following slides shows the first of several videos in this presentation. These videos are from the EALD Hub online training. It is important we come from a strength-based mindset. EALD learners have an extra task in the classroom because EALD learners need to learn through a language they are not yet proficient in. A deficit model of language would see learners as lacking standard Australian English and remedying this deficit. A difference model sees EALD learners as having a full language and adding SAE, standard Australian English, as an additional language to their advantage. Therefore, we need to work from a difference model. Being inclusive and taking Aboriginal parents and families along for the journey is essential for all Aboriginal students. Without the knowledge of the students' language and connections to culture, educators will not be able to provide a comprehensive, individual, quality learning plan. One plan's development and discussion should be centred around the child, including parents, families, and key stakeholders. The Aboriginal Learner Achievement Resource, also a key initiative from the strategy, supports all Aboriginal learners to ensure school systems and processes put a focus on Aboriginal learners and is embedded into the school improvement plan. Key elements 5 and 6 are vital. Element 5, engaging families as partners in literacy and numeracy learning. Element 6, promoting the continuity of learning. Therefore, key documents and strategies all highlight the importance of taking the journey with the parents and families. Who are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander EALD learners? Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander EALD learners have a first language other than Standard Australian English. They may speak a variety of Aboriginal English, a Creole, an Aboriginal language, or a Torres Strait Islander language. EALD learners have not yet reached full proficiency in Standard Australian English. Many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students need to learn Standard Australian English at the same time as the curriculum content. The identification flowchart outlines how to identify Aboriginal EALD learners. In closing, and how you can be successful, know your EALD learners, learn and understand students' cultural background, language and connection to country. Be a culturally responsive organisation, be ready and accountable, ensure the school is ready for the child, make it a priority to complete EALD learning and access the resource hub. Strength-based approach, Aboriginal learners are proud of identity and take pride in their culture, and having another language, an Aboriginal language, or speaking Aboriginal English should be celebrated. Engage parents and families. It's vital and essential to the successful outcomes. And develop comprehensive, individual, high-quality learning plans through the One Plan process. The Department for Education staff can access other information and resources through the intranet page. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have gained valuable information to start or continue on your journey to support Aboriginal EALD learners.